Hello. Hi, Rachel. Hello. Hi, Diane. Hi, Michelle. You looking for the restroom? So you can go either way. You see, you can go either way, but that's the fastest. Just go down and it's on your right there. Diane, over Shabbos, I heard it was quieter. Yeah, Baruch Hashem.
Yeah, no, it was about 5 times in the shelter.
Really? My daughter didn't tell me that part. Okay. All right.
She's in Jerusalem.
Yeah, she is. Does Jerusalem have different sirens for different areas, or it's all the same? Huh?
Different areas. Yeah.
What area are you in?
Jerusalem North.
Like what's
I'm
that
in
called?
I'm in remote.
Remote. Okay. All right. Yes.
Do you have that we can sell you the hummus?
Yeah, I can't do that now. That's tomorrow. Yeah.
You have the contract?
I have the contracts, but I can't do it today. It's next week.
Oh, we can't do it today?
I can't do it today because we're a little busy now.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see. All right. I did this whole sheet for all of you and I forgot to give it out. Great. Okay. Please sign in for the Simply Parsha class. Henry, you gonna want to come to the crash course in reading Hebrew when we start after the holidays?
Yes.
Okay. Henry, what's your last name?
Powers.
Towers?
Powers.
Mhm. Okay. I will pass around the sign-in sheet. We'll give out. Sorry?
So we were out of, we did by April.
We are out of race. Why do you think we're next?
So it's this one. Okay.
This is wrong. Check which one you have. Do you have the reading for Passover?
Yeah.
No, that's a mistake. I don't know. No, it's the wrong one. I mean, you can have it. You're welcome to look at it, but that's not the one I wanted to give you. A little bit mixed up. Give me a minute. Oh, okay. Who didn't get Tzav? Who didn't get Tzav? Huh?
I didn't think so either. Is this yours or?
No, don't take it yet. I didn't. This for the first day of Passover. I'm trying to sort things out. Things a little bit mixed up. Yeah, what you mean? First day of Passover. Tzav.
Yeah.
This is this week's portion.
You want to come over here? Settle?
This is Tzav. This is Tzav. This is Tzav. Here. There. And we. Oh, thank you. Does everyone have Tzav? I don't mind if you have the Pesach one, but as long as you have Tzav also. Okay, a little mixed up here. Okay, so Parshat Tzav is the second portion in, thank you. Second portion, did everyone sign in? Yes, we're all in? Tzav is the second portion in Chumash Vayikra, the book of Leviticus. Chapter 6, verse 1 through chapter 8, verse 36. It has a total of 18 commandments. It has 96 verses, 9 positive, 9 negative. Now, this Shabbos actually has a special name. It's called Shabbos Hagadol, means the Great Shabbos. And that's always the name given, not to Parshat Tzav, not tied to the Torah portion, it's tied to the Shabbos before the holiday of Passover. Why is it known as the Great? As the Great Shabbos? Because the Jewish people took a dramatic step in Egypt when they had become idol worshippers while they were there. And they took the lamb and brought it into their homes to prepare themselves for the bringing of the Paschal lamb on the 14th day of the Hebrew month of Nisan. And that was a big deal because their Egyptian neighbors said, hey, what are you doing with the lambs? Oh, we're going to prepare it now to ritually slaughter. Hey, that's our idol. And they took a chance that the Egyptians would not be happy campers with them. And nothing happened. God protected them. But at the same time, it was a daring move on their part. And that's one of the reasons why this Shabbos is called the Big Shabbos. Some people say it's called the Big Shabbos because the rabbis give big speeches about before Passover. That's also true, but that's part of it. So that's why this Shabbos is called Shabbos Hagadol. And the name of the Parsha is Tzav. And the word Tzav means command. So when you ask most people, when you say, what's a mitzvah? Most people will say a good deed. But in fact, that's not an accurate. It's true, the mitzvahs are good deeds, but that's not what they are. Not murdering is not a good deed. I don't recommend it, but it's not a good deed. So a mitzvah comes from the word tzav, which means commandment. So the mitzvahs are commandments which we have things that we're supposed to do, 613 commandments of things we're supposed to do and things we're not supposed to do. So that's what a mitzvah is. It has the word tzav embedded in it. Also, parenthetically, an interesting thing you may find interesting that the word mitzvah also is related to the word tafsa, which means a relationship, a connection. Because through the commandments is how you have a relationship with God. And so that's what tzav is. And the parsha starts with commanding.
I think that was an important thing you just said.
That was an important thing I just.
The second part about man.
Tafsa is a connection, is a
How
relationship.
do you spell that?
Tzadik vav saf alf is a relationship with God. So the opening verses where God tells Moshe to command Aaron and his sons, and has rules related to the Kohanim, related to the priests. There's a very beautiful oral Torah. The Medrash tells us a very beautiful idea. The Almighty was disappointed with Aaron. Can anyone remember why?
He helped make
the golden calf. Now his strategy was to stall for time so that Moshe would come down, but the bottom line is he was involved with it. So Moshe asks God, what kind of wood is suitable for kindling a fire on the Mizbeach, on the altar? So God tells him all kinds except for the branches of the grapevine and the olives. Why not branches of the grapevine or the olive tree? Because the grapevines is where grapes come from, and that's what's used for the libations. And olive wood isn't used because the oil is used for the menorah and some of the offerings, the mincha offerings. So Moshe tells God an interesting idea, a very Jewish concept here we're going to learn about arguing with God. And Moshe says, oh, so because the grapevine's offspring are good, because we use it to make wine and use it in the temple, and the olive's offspring are good, because we use it also in the temple for the menorah and for the mincha. So then that's why they get special treatment, that they're not used for kindling on the altar, right? So God says, correct. Says, well, Aaron has good kids. So Aaron should be given special honor as well, because he has good children. So even if you're upset at Aaron about what he did, but he has good kids. So the Parsha begins, Tzav Aaron, so command Aaron. So God agreed with his argument. So this is a fascinating idea of arguing with God. And we see a pattern here. Just as an aside, I'll tell you something funny. There was some religious guys who took a course from a professor, I think from Utah, and he was shocked because he's giving this lecture and said, well, what about this thing? They're asking questions and arguing with him, and he never had that. He usually gives a lecture, and everyone takes down the notes, and that's it. And here, these Jewish people are like, this guy, wait, what about this? And they told him this is a cultural thing. That's how we study. That's how we study Talmud. That's how we always ask questions. And the professor asked to be invited to the Jewish community. I think it was in Brooklyn, and he got a tour. And I think he wrote his thesis about this idea, this concept. It's just an interesting thing. But we see that great people did discuss things with God. Avraham, when God tells him that he's going to destroy Sodom, Avraham doesn't say, okay, bad guys get it, yay. He says, wait a second, maybe there's some righteous people there, and he makes a whole discussion. The Torah has a whole discussion about what Avraham did to try to pray on their behalf. Moshe argues with God and prays on behalf of the Jewish people. And then there's a very famous Hasidic master named Rabbi Yitzchak of Berditchev. Rabbi Yitzchak of Berditchev was a great Hasidic master, and he loved Jews very much. And he had a prayer that he said before Yom Kippur davening, before the supplemental service on Yom Kippur. And he said the following prayer. And he says, I won't say it in Yiddish, which is the language he used, but I'll say it in English. Master of the universe, I will make a trade with you. I will give you errors, inequities, and transgressions, O Father. And if he asks you what you should give me in return, you should give me forgiveness, pardon, and atonement, O Father. If you think that's the even trade, no, I will tell you. I also want to add children, life, and livelihood, O Father. If you ask me what I mean by children, I will tell you children and grandchildren who engage in Torah and mitzvahs, O Father. If you ask me what I mean by life, I will tell you Only the living can thank you and praise you, O Father. And if you ask me what I mean by livelihood, I will tell you, you shall eat and you shall be satisfied and you shall bless God, your God, O Father. The Egyptians say their God is a God. No, I tell you. The Persians say their God is a God. No, I tell you. The atheists say there is no God. There is, I tell you. And I, Levi Yitzchak ben Sarasasha, say, Yizkada, Levi Yitzchak Shemay Rabbah. May his great name be exalted and sanctified. Very powerful, very beautiful prayer that he said at the beginning of the supplemental service on Yom Kippur. So this is an old tradition of being, on one hand, respectful, but at the same time defending the Jewish people as well. So this is what Moshe did here for Aaron's sake. Now, why does it say the word command? It's a strong term. Why? Just tell them what to do. They would do it. Aaron would do it. So the commentaries tell us that by the Ola offering, by the burnt offering, the Kohanim don't really get very much out of it. Certain sacrifices, the Kohanim got a piece of the action. The Carbon Oila, they got very little. And therefore, he's telling them they should make sure to do it well, even though they're not getting any direct benefit from it, which is an important idea for us to understand, the concept of self-interest. Human nature, we usually care about ourselves, and we have to balance that, doing the right thing versus personal benefit. And we have to understand that doing the right thing is not always easy when you don't have a benefit, but it's an important idea. When you do the right thing, you're living a meaningful life, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. When it's self-interest, then we're only motivated by ourselves, and that's not a great motivation, because it's not going to give us moral clarity, and it's not going to give us great meaning. It won't help us live a meaningful life. You can ask them why they're not here. But doing the right thing, you get this side benefits that you can't imagine. There's a very beautiful statement from the Talmud that says the following. It happened once in a year that there was Emperor Monobaz, who there was a famine, a terrible drought, and he opened up his treasure chest and distributed them with an open hand to the needy. And the family was very upset at him. And they protested, your forefathers expended much effort and toil to accumulate this wealth and to increase the family's fortune, and how can you just squander it and give it all away? And he said a beautiful thing. And he replied, let me read it to you. My father garnered a treasure on earth, and I'm storing a treasure in heaven. My father stored in an insecure place, I store it securely. My father stored it without profit, I'm investing it beneficially. My father accumulated treasure of money, and I accumulated treasure of souls. My father put aside for others, and I'm putting away for myself. My father stored in this world, and I'm storing in the world to come. So let's go over this again and try to understand, what is he saying? My father's generated a treasure on earth, and I'm storing a treasure in heaven. What do you mean by that? I'm doing a commandment, and I'm fulfilling God's will. So it's a treasure in heaven, and the reward is in heaven. My father stored it in an insecure place. I store it securely. What do you mean? It was vaulted, guarded. Why isn't he saying it's insecure? And why is what his doing is secure? When it's in a vault, so guess what? Someone can break in and get the stuff out, right? But when it's in heaven, then no one can take that away from you. My father stored it without profit. I'm investing it beneficially. My father accumulated treasures of money, and I'm accumulating treasures of souls, because I'm helping people. My father put it aside for others. What does it mean he put it aside for others? Because he's not going to benefit from it. The father died already. But now he's putting it for himself, because I'm getting the credit of the good deeds that I did. My father stored in this world, and I'm storing it in the world to come. So it's really an important idea, the concept of doing for others and doing the right thing, and not just for what we want now and what I like. Okay, one of the things mentioned in this week's portion is something called one of the first mitzvah of the day, called the Trumas Hadeshen, which means that was to take off some of the ashes from the altar that they had burned the day before, some of the sacrifices. Now, you may look at this as a menial task, but a menial tasks may be menial in man's eyes, but not in God's eyes. I'll give you a very, very important example. Diapering a baby. Pretty menial task. Doesn't smell so great. It's not so much fun. But you're doing a big mitzvah. You're taking care of a child that can't take care of themselves. So what a beautiful thing. My one of my sons was, when he was single, was babysitting my other son's kids when they went to the hospital to have a baby, and he was a very finicky kid. This single son. Now he's married and does what he's supposed to do, but then he was very finicky. And we said to him, what would have happened if it had been a dirty diaper? Oh, forget about it. I would have called the SWAT team. I couldn't have handled it. Like I said, now he's grown up a little bit and he diapers his kids. It's fine. But I'm just saying, diapering is an example. I'll give you another example. There was a man here in the community many years ago had a home invasion, and he was in the hospital, and the rabbis came to visit him. And the rabbis were the ones who changed his pan that he needed to relieve himself. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not fun necessarily to do, but that was the right thing to do. So in God's eyes, there's no menial tasks. Each one has an importance to it. Another important idea is a lesson for us is we clear off some of the ashes from the past to teach us, don't get stuck in the mistakes of the past. I made mistakes in the past. Don't hold on to it. Let's move on. And the other idea is to build up from the good that we've done in the past, and let go of the old mistakes, the past habits, and continue to build on our positive accomplishments. Another thing mentioned in the portion is about the constant fire on the altar. It was miraculous, but we have to do ours. God does his, and we have to do ours. And Trumas is the separation, if you will, of the ashes. So just like they added their own fire onto the altar, we have to add our own passion and growth all the time. Many people are, spirituality is like, you're not passive. It's like life on an escalator. You're either going up or you're going down. And we have to look at our habits, like people, I'm a high holiday Jew. I go to the synagogue high holidays. Well, maybe it's better than nothing. I don't know, but that's very little. And you need to feed yourself. Again, we're either going up or going down, and yet we spiritually have to work on that. There's no such thing as person being spiritually static. You're either growing or you're going down. And it's interesting, it says, because the fire in it should keep on burning. It's referring to the altar, but it's also referring to within ourselves. We should keep the fire, the fervor and excitement of our growth and learning, keep that going. The Kohen Gadol, the high priest, would bring a mincha offering, a flour offering, which is very interesting because the flour offering was usually given by the poor man. So why is he bringing, you figure the high priest is going to bring the deluxe, Cadillac, big ox as offering. No, he's doing a simple flour offering. And again, many lessons for us there. First of all, that we should work on ourselves before we work on others. And this interpretation, this interpretation is going to be from the Abarbanel. Who was the Abarbanel? He lived in Spain in the 1400s, and he was the finance minister of the king and queen, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabel, who were the people who started the Inquisition. And of course, he said, they told him, "You're our finance minister. You can stay. We'll get rid of the other Jews, but you can stay." And Abraham says, "No, I'm going to lead them out. If you're kicking out the Jews and you want to persecute the Jews, I'm going to lead them out." And he did. By the way, he did. So he says that the reason why the Kohen Gadol brings the flour offering is work on yourself first. Number two is encouraging sinners to come, because if the great high priest is bringing the thing, so I shouldn't feel embarrassed to bring it too. I can do it too. And encouraging the poor not to be embarrassed. And that's a theme. We have that a few times. We have that the place where they brought the sacrifice for the sin offering is the same place as where the gift offering was brought. And why was it the same place? So that no one should feel like, oh, you're in the sinner section. Oh, no one knows what he gave, what he didn't give, to spare somebody embarrassment. And that's a beautiful idea to work on, not saving somebody from embarrassment. The famous story about the great Rabbi Akiva Eger. He invited someone into his house, and the man inadvertently spilled his cup of wine on the tablecloth. And he was like horrified. And Rabbi Akiva Eger shook the table and knocked over his own and said, "Oh, the table must be a little loose." So he spared him. There's a beautiful story with Rav Hutner that's related to Pesach. And what happened was he had a guest at a table and he spilled some wine on the Haggadah. And Rav Hutner, in his inimitable fashion, said, a Pesach Haggadah, the book we use for the Passover story that we read Passover night, a Pesach Haggadah without wine stains is like a Yom Kippur Machzor without tear stains. I'll say that again. A Pesach Haggadah without wine stains is like a Yom Kippur Machzor without tear stains. Meaning to say, there's certain things for each holiday that are appropriate. Yom Kippur, a person is praying on behalf, he's atoning. So you're going to hopefully have some tears. You're going to take it seriously. And the Pesach Haggadah, there's a lot of wine and drinking and this and that, and you're going to spill a little bit on your Haggadah. That's okay. That's normal stuff. Moshe Feinstein, one of the great halachic authorities of the 20th century, had a book and a Talmud volume in front of him, and someone inadvertently spilled an ink bottle, and the ink spilled all over it. And other people telling guys, "What'd you do? What?" And Rav Moshe walked back in and says, "Oh wow, it's such a pretty color, so nice." Just totally didn't react and saved him embarrassment. So there is a carbon called a thank you carbon, Shalmei Toda. We don't have that carbon today, so there's a blessing that we make, a blessing Hagomel, and it's for four main things. If a person was deathly ill and got healed, if a person traveled the ocean and was safe, or traveled the desert and was safe, or a person was in jail and in dangerous situations. So that stands for the word chayim, life. Ches is chola, someone who was sick. Yud is yam, sea. Yud is yisurim. He was incarcerated. and Mem is Midbar, a desert. So these are things that they would do to thank God, and that's an idea that's very important. That we should have gratitude, and it's actually the first words we say in the morning when we get up. We're supposed to say "Moda ani lefanecha." Thank you, God, for bringing back my soul. We're not guaranteed that it's going to be there every day. You have to be grateful every morning, and there's a lot to be grateful for, and it's a great thing to focus on. I'm sorry?
What is that saying?
Moda ani lefanecha. It's in your handy article on page 2 on the top. It's what we're supposed to say right when we wake up, even before you wash your hands. Thank God for returning my soul, and you do so faithfully, God. Interestingly enough, there is a person actually made a celebration. He had traveled a big trip, and he made a celebration. He was driving, I think, I don't know if it's cross country. I don't know what the story was exactly. And he gave a kiddush. He gave a celebration in the shul. And they asked him, "What happened that you gave it?" He said, "I was not in an accident." I was not in an accident. I'm grateful, which is a sweet idea. We also have the concept of intent. If a person had the wrong intent when he was bringing a sacrifice, then it's invalid. And this teaches us an important idea that we should have the right intent when we are doing something. Whenever a person does a mitzvah, we create angels. We don't necessarily see them, but the angels are there. Now, depending on what our intent is, the better and stronger the angel is. If our intent is, well, I want everyone to see this holy guy, so that's why I'm doing it. Well, that angel is going to be a little bit of the weaker side. But if I'm doing it because God said, regardless if anyone's watching or not, then that's a much stronger angel. So the right intent to do the right thing, to serve God with joy, that creates a beautiful angel. Yes.
I think it's a moment we should tell the story about the man who walks into the bar. And says, this.
Dave,
He walks into the bar.
go ahead, Dave. Finish the story. I'm afraid for you to leave it in your stomach. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I really need a drink. Please, bartender, give me a beer. The bartender looks at him, said, "All right." So the bartender takes a glass and goes over, pours a glass of beer, walks over to the man, dumps it in the sink. And then he goes back, pours another glass, goes over to the man, dumps it in the sink.
We get the idea, Dave. Get to the point, Dave.
Glass, gives it to the man. And the man said, drinks it. "Oh, that's great. Thank you so much. But I have a question. How come the first and second time you dumped it in the sink?" "Well, I just didn't feel like it." He didn't have the feeling of the intent to do the mitzvah.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't a joke. It was actually a serious idea. He felt he wasn't doing it fully correctly, so he wanted to have the right attitude. Right. Okay, it's interesting. So also the Parsha tells us about not eating certain fats that have to be removed. The butchers usually do that. And we don't eat blood because dam hu hanefesh, blood is the essence of life. And we're not like the animals. We don't want to ingest it. And therefore what we do is kosher meat, besides being ritually slaughtered and allowing the blood to drain, the kosher meat is salted. Some of you may have heard of kosher salt, which sounds, what's kosher salt? Kosher, it's bigger pieces of salt that are used to drain the blood out of it, out of it. So just as an aside, you should be aware that there are two aspects of kashrus. There is the ingredients and the procedures. The ingredients have to be kosher, so you can't use pork, can't mix milk and meat, you can't use non-kosher animals, crab, not kosher fish, but also the process, it has to be ritually slaughtered properly, it needs to be salted. So these are also part of making sure something is kosher. Look up one thing here. So Reb Samson Raphael Hirsch, which is somebody whose works are just fascinating. He lived in the 1800s in Germany, and you could read his works today. They're very deep, but he's like so current. It's amazing. So one of the things he writes, I'm just going to read a small section here, and talks about here the waving, performing the parts of the peace offering that will be placed on the altar, and they had to be waved. They're given to the Kohen. Before they're placed on the altar or presented to the Kohen, they were waved in all four directions and then lifted up and down. These motions signify God controls existence everywhere in all four directions and above and below. This service takes place only in the case of a peace offering to teach us the major component of satisfaction with one's lot in life is one's recognition that he is God's servant and that his perception of the world must be based upon the outlook of the Torah. Moreover, his peace offering includes a gift of the Kohen, which requires the same wave service because the devotion to God must include devotion to his servants. It's very, very beautifully written. Yes, Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch, and he wrote many works. He wrote a commentary on the Chumash that has been translated and made it a little bit easier to read. Now he also wrote the 19 letters, and he wrote many works. So we have, I'm sorry, Chorev, yeah, about the mitzvahs, correct. So also we have in the Parsha, and we'll conclude with this, is that for 7 days Moshe was in charge of the Mishkan, and he taught Aaron and his sons what to do. And on the 8th day, Aaron's going to take over. And the Jews are going to came into the yard of the Mishkan, and miraculously there was enough room for everybody, which is very amazing. Which is the idea of the Jewish people transcend nature. We're still around in spite of everything going on, and that has gone on. We're still around, and the idea of taking apart the Mishkan and putting it back every day, he had to do that. Take it apart, put it in. It means we should never give up. We're always rebuilding, and we can't give up. And I'll conclude with a fascinating story with the Panovich Rav. Panovich Rav came to the city of Bnei Brak and wanted to build the orphanage, which he did, and also a yeshiva. And people looked at him. He lost family during the Holocaust. It was during the Holocaust that he was taking these plans. And Rommel, the Desert Fox, the brilliant Nazi commander, was moving toward North Africa, toward Israel. And the Jews were very afraid about what was going on. The Arabs were coming to look at which apartments they were going to take that the Jews had. It was people, the people were preparing things to bury people in, because they knew that if the Germans take over Israel, it's going to be terrible. It'll be devastating. So they told the Panovich Rav, you're talking about building a yeshiva and an orphanage. You're dreaming. And he said, you may be right. I'm dreaming, but I'm not sleeping. I'm not sleeping. And what ended up happening was God prevailed, and in the end, Rommel wasn't able, and at Elaine, they lost a major battle, and they were not able to, and they never made it into Israel to attack. And the Panovich Rav did succeed in building a beautiful yeshiva and building an orphanage that is still there to this day. And that's the story of the Jewish people, to rebuild and to start over again. And even and in Israel, even today, if God forbid there's a terrorist attack, they don't leave the broken parts around. They clean up right away. They'll put a little plaque maybe on the wall, and that's it. Because we have to move on. We have to build, keep on building. And that's part of the Parsha, what Moshe was putting the Mishkan up again, down, up and down, because we have to start over again. My parents, of blessed memory, came from Poland to the United States after the war. They had lost everything. My father had been in the camps, my mother had been shot. Story for another time. And they came to America, and they didn't know English, they didn't know anything, and they rebuilt to try to build a Jewish family here in the United States. And thank God, so a lot of the parshas dealing with stuff about the Mishkan, but some very pertinent and relevant lessons for us today as well. Okay, next class is on Pesach, which you're welcome to attend. Those of you on Zoom, if you'd like to join, I have a Zoom number. If I can find it quickly, I will give it to you. I mushed things around here because I was looking for things. Again, next week there will not be class, but I will be here from 10:30 to 12 if you'd like to sell your chametz. Okay, let's go down. This is here. Okay, so those of you on Zoom, if you'd like to join, the meeting ID is 945-140-3764. I'll say it again, 945-140-3764. And the passcode is 566443. I'll say it one more time, 945-140-3764. And passcode 566443. Okay. All right, all of you. If I don't see you, take care. Have a great holiday, and let me. You too. All the best. Take care. All the best, Sam.